Welcome to the Stepping Forward with Kate show. I'm Kate Hellmers. Today we have Rob Christie. Rob is a two-time Grammy winner, music producer, and founder and president of Robo Records. He has worked with some of the best in the business, from the Beatles to the Frank Sinatra estate, the Beach Boys, Joss Jones, Tina Turner, Dave Koz, Richie Sambora, really, Bon Jovi, and he did the legendary Les Paul's album, and many, many more. And his record label, Robo Records, has Paul McCartney's lead guitarist since 2002, Brian Ray, who's just absolutely incredible, with the Bayonets, Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees, superstar Orianthi.
We like to say Orianthi.
Orianthi, I'm so sorry.
You're not the only one to get that name wrong.
Okay, Orianthi, we all have to practice Orianthi, but she's so incredible.
She's incredible. I haven't seen her in a while, actually, but she is amazing. And we'll get to that, too. But
okay.
That's a mouthful you got there. I think they got enough. They get the gist.
Well, the Beach Boys, the Bangles, Sheila E. I mean, it just goes on. It's incredible. So welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me, Kate. It's fun to be here.
Absolutely. So we have a tradition here at the Stepping Forward with Kate show to do 5 questions so that the people can get to know how you were able to step forward.
Okay.
So if that's okay. So
I'll ask you 5 questions and we'll start.
Would be really dangerous.
It is.
So what's a favorite book or quote or something that you have?
Favorite book or quote?
Right.
Well, I don't know what the favorite quote would be. Favorite book has to be The Alchemist, I think.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
that's a great one.
I just love the adventure of it and just the morals and talk about great quotes. It's just full of great quotes.
It's full of great quotes, right. And a great piece of advice that you've received in your life.
Great piece of advice that I've received in my life. A lot of good that's gotten me. It's a tough one. I've gotten so much, it's hard to say, but we were just talking about it earlier, I guess. God helps those who help themselves. Yeah. So that's kind of fresh in my memory, but I think that sticks. It's a pretty good one. We'll go with that one.
Okay.
We'll go with that one.
And everyone's had tough times in their life, and through tough times that you've had, what helped you step forward?
What helped me step forward? Sheer perseverance and tenacity, I think. Have I actually gone forward? Yeah, I might have gone a few steps back, but it's interesting that you asked that about ups and downs. I mean, I was at Capitol Records and EMI for almost 16 years, and they went through massive layoffs, and the whole industry the record industry is dying out, if you don't know. So they went through like 3,000 layoffs, so I got laid off, but had a really nice severance package, and so I was very lucky there. As soon as I went through all my severance and was trying to get a job, nothing in the industry anywhere. As soon as I go through my severance, I was diagnosed with colorectal cancer, and I spent an extra year in treatments where I really couldn't do anything, and so literally lost. I don't want to say lost, but spent my all the savings I had saved up, and so you're sitting there without a job, and you have cancer, and so I guess the only place to go is up from that point. So that's why I started the record label, and because I could work on my own time and terms, and it's a constant battle, but there's nothing else I would be doing.
Just a complete passion.
Yeah, I mean, it chose me. I didn't choose it because I'd be crazy to choose the music business, but there's really nothing else that I can or would do, I don't think. We'll give it a few years, but that's the way I feel now.
Oh my gosh. But you survived.
I survived so far. Knock on wood, we're here.
And what habits on a daily or weekly basis help you keep moving forward?
Waking up. That's a good start.
Making sure you get out of bed.
Yeah, habits. Well, I'm not, speaking of waking up, I'm not a morning person at all. Most of the music business people aren't. So my mojo doesn't really kick in until 5 or 6 p.m.
Oh my God.
Like last night I was saying I was recording stuff until 3 a.m. So I'm a night owl. So that's a lot easier for me. As far as keeping me going, it's just straight up passion, I think.
There you go. And how do you relax?
How do I relax? A lot of people probably wouldn't consider it relaxing, but I like my beach time on the weekends and after work to I play beach volleyball in Manhattan, where we live, Manhattan Beach. So beach volleyball doesn't sound very relaxing, but that's kind of, that's my happy place.
Yeah, the ocean right there.
Yeah.
And some of those people from Manhattan Beach
It's exhausting.
are going to the Olympics.
Yeah, that's right.
Which
Carrie
is
Walsh. As a matter of fact, I
pretty cool.
just saw her down there last week.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for that.
Do you ever beat her?
Well, I was going to go down and give her a few points, but I'm a strong intermediate. You know, that's where her skills. She's great at the advanced stuff. She needs a little more intermediate skill.
Oh my gosh. So how did you, what projects have you worked on and how did you end up getting into the business?
I was a music major in college, and I stuck with it, and I actually interned at Capitol Records in the studios many moons ago, and I ended up staying there for 16 years.
Wow.
And that's how I started. Literally, I was in the music department at Northridge, and I interned, and I stuck with it, and it's what I wanted to do. It's what I wanted to be.
What were some of your favorite projects there?
Favorite projects? God, there are literally thousands, so
Wow.
it's tough. But the ones that stick out are anything Beatles related. I like that. Anything Sinatra, Frank Sinatra, or Dean Martin, those type of high-end projects. I like those the best. I think the reason I got into the business, or into playing music even, is because of the Beatles. Heavily influenced, and you know, I respect so many other musicians, and but that's where it started, college.
So how was it when you first started working with that group? Were you nervous? Were you in awe?
Just working in the studios in general, a professional studio environment.
Well, and on the Beatles project, and
well, this is long after, obviously long after the Beatles have broken up.
Right,
and
right,
same with, you know, Sinatra or Dean Martin, or any of those big estates, or even, you know, Beach Boys or whatever. Those are the projects that I like. So,
but you were working on projects that would re-release some of their
yeah,
stuff, right?
and I do a lot of remixing, remastering, box sets, those types of things, along with working with contemporary and new artists. But I like the big projects like those, and you're usually just in the studio with an engineer, just mixing, either here in LA or New York.
And what's your favorite memory of working on the Beatles collection?
That's a good question. One of the first time I did a box set for the Beatles, we literally had 8 master tapes, and I had like a lockbox. You know, it was very, you know, FBI, CIA type stuff, where it was a lockbox that I had to carry with me at all times. There are 8 master tapes in there. They were each insured for $1 million, so there's $8 million worth of tapes in there, and you have to go through special security. You know, you can't go through X-ray machines, and so just taking those tapes on a plane and going to New York and sitting in a studio and listening to the original masters.
Wow.
And this was at a place called Sterling Sound too, and they have a beautiful view of the Statue of Liberty.
Oh my gosh.
And so, you know, I'm in a studio, beautiful studio, listening to original Beatle masters, looking out at the Statue of Liberty, and projects like that kind of stick out in my mind.
Amazing. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, just amazing.
And that's on the catalog side of it, but the real best part of being in music is being in the studio with a full orchestra and hearing the top of the top musicians do their thing. That's fun. So a lot of the guys at the studios, you know, get it every day, but for me, there's a lot of marketing and promotion and other things that go along with it. So I'm not in every day like they are, but when I am, I really appreciate it. It's fun.
Kind of a side question, but I know we all want to know. Exactly what does a producer do on an album? Do they change things? Do they not? Or does it depend on the producer?
A lot of people ask it. Yeah, it kind of does depend on the producer. I think every producer is different. What I've been doing a lot lately is, you know, sit down in a home studio with a singer and do everything soup to nuts, like put the drums on myself, piano, guitars, basses, strings, all that. But the producer is basically like the director of a movie.
Oh, okay.
You have the star, and you're directing them to get the best performance you can out of them, all the while doing the arrangements and hiring musicians, getting the studio time, picking the music, all that type of stuff.
Oh, okay.
I equate it to like a director on a film.
Okay, that makes complete sense. And what's the biggest mistake that newbies in the business make?
Newbies like me, since I am fresh out of college.
Yeah, out of heart. Young at heart.
Young at heart, exactly, yeah. I think that newbies see people on American Idol and America's Got Talent and things like that, and they want that overnight stardom and success, and that's just not the real world. That's a one in several million shot. But it takes a lot of time and perseverance and doing your craft. And I hate to call it work. It drives me nuts when somebody on American Idol or one of those shows say, I worked so hard on this. You're not working. That's not work. Those guys,
fun?
The guys fighting fires or in a foxhole in Afghanistan or something, those men and women are working. If you're
So true.
Yeah, so if you're in a studio or if you're singing, I don't like to call it work. I like to call it, you can put a lot of time into something, which I think needs to be done, time and effort. I just don't like to call it work.
So it's hours, not work.
Hours, yeah, perseverance. And it does, I think touring is, you could call that work.
Okay.
I mean, and you need to do all those things to get to a certain place, but I just don't like to use the word work.
So what are 3 things that new singers, musicians could do to improve their success in the business?
I think perseverance, and it does take hard work, even though I don't like to call it work, but you do have to build a following. You have to get out there, do it every single day, and if you have to ask yourself if this is the right thing, then it's not the right thing.
It's not.
Yeah, it's either ingrained and it's built in you and you can't do anything else, or it's not for you.
Okay, that's a good one.
Did you ask for 3 things? Was that
Yes,
the question?
I did.
Oh my gosh. So is that 1?
That's actually 2.
Okay.
Working hard, perseverance,
Yeah, like I said, I hate to
and
call
get
it
out
work.
there.
But
That's 3.
yeah, and networking and
Oh, no.
be nice. Be nice to everybody. I'm generally a jerk, so don't follow me.
Oh my
Do as
gosh.
I say, not as I do. No, I'm just kidding. I try to be nice, but there's artists out there who have gotten where they are because people like working with them.
Yeah.
I'll give you a prime example. Dave Cause, who lives here in Beverly Hills, he's a very
Jack.
talented musician, and I've known him for a long time and worked, done records with him since the early 90s, but
Wow.
he started out playing theaters and stuff, but the fact that everybody likes him and wants to work with him, now he's headlining at the Hollywood Bowl.
Oh, wow.
So it's so great to see an artist like that who really is just a genuinely nice person just get to the top of their craft.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I just think being nice goes a long way.
So do the actual instruments make any difference?
Sometimes. I think it just depends how they're used. You can get a great recording on a smartphone
Okay.
with if we had a lav mic and a smartphone. I mean, we could do a nice recording. It just depends how well you use it. I
Okay.
mean, granted, you probably wouldn't want to do a professional release like that, but I think the instruments matter, but it's all about how you use them is the key.
Okay. And while recording, which artist surprised you the most with their talent?
Martina McBride, I think, because
Oh, really?
I've lived in LA my whole life, and the Nashville scene, I've always appreciated it. Didn't know too much about it other than there's a lot of country artists I've worked with out here. But working with her was just amazing. I mean, she's such a professional, perfect pitch. I don't know, I just wasn't expecting somebody like that. I didn't know what I was expecting, but she's just so good.
Oh, isn't that great?
Yeah.
So this is a question from our audience, actually. What percentage of the industry does drugs?
What percentage of the industry does drugs?
Right.
That's such a funny question because, and I'm glad you asked it. I think I'm sheltered, and not that I'm naive because I know that it's out there, but in my own personal experience, I don't see much of it, especially in the studios here in LA, like the high-end studios. You don't see it as much as you used to. I know some of the engineers have stories from the 80s, just like piles of cocaine or something in the studio, but I've never witnessed anything like that.
Really?
It's more professionals coming to work and to be honest, most of the artists that I work with now most of them are like on the program and sober. So
okay.
even when they tour and stuff, they aren't drinking or doing anything. You know, most of the classic rockers that I work with, everybody seems like everybody's on AA or the program. So I might be sheltered, but I don't really see it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like it's switched in the last few decades.
I think so.
Considerably.
And I'm not being naive. I know it's out there. I know it exists, but just in my experience, I haven't really dealt with it.
Yeah. So what's the most fun you've ever had in a session?
The most fun I've ever had in a session? That's a good question too. Anytime you get a full orchestra, it's...
Oh, wow.
I think it's always stressful because it's such big budget type stuff. You know, it's expensive to get an orchestra and a studio, and you have to get a certain amount done in a very short amount of time or you're screwed. But once things are cooking and you hear it start to gel and you hear an orchestra really grooving and in tune, that's the best. It's the best feeling.
Wow.
That's so great. So if I had to pick one time, oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't know.
Just those kind of sessions.
Yeah, that type of thing.
And who have you been most awed by, star or musician?
Most awed by, because I am an odd fellow. I've been most awed, probably McCartney. I mean, just because nobody really compares to Paul. I met Michael a few times. I met Michael Jackson a few times, and there was one session. I'll tell a quick story.
Okay.
Quick Michael story. This was at Capitol Studios in Hollywood, and he was coming for a session on one of his last albums, and his Secret Service, like his security, does a sweep before he goes anywhere. So they called ahead of time and made us cover up all the video cameras, like parking lots, so he couldn't be seen on any of the video cameras. Had to clear the floor, nobody could be around. Musicians had to be in the chairs in the studio. So then about 15 minutes before the Secret Service guys actually come and do the walkthrough and make sure everything's clean and the cameras are covered up. So I'm sitting there waiting at the top of the hallway for Michael to show up, which was cool because I'm a fan. And I hear echo down the hallway this, him vocalizing. I swear to God, just like that, and it's echoing through the halls. And then I see him come walking down the hall with his two eldest kids. It was Paris and Prince.
I think
yeah,
so.
It wasn't Blanket then. And he had them hand in hand, and they're kind of walking into the studio, and I got to meet and talk to the three of them, and then we walked into the studio, and there's a big picture of Nat King Cole in the hallway, and he's holding up the kids. He's like, "Oh, look, kids, it's Nat King Cole. He's touch it." He's like, "Touch it." So he's having his kids touch the picture of Nat King Cole.
That is so
and it's
neat.
such a crazy, strange memory. I don't know why, but it's just because, when Michael Jackson walks into a room, I mean, you know it.
It's so neat that he had such reverence for Nat King Cole.
I know, I like that.
Oh,
I like that
that's
too.
true.
I mean,
Yeah,
speaking
absolutely.
of odd, he's different type of odd, but.
So what's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened at a session?
Most embarrassing thing. That time when my skirt blew up and I was in the, I don't really know. This is an interesting scenario. We had a 35-piece orchestra in the studio, which is very expensive when you're dealing with the best of the best musicians here in Hollywood. And 35-piece orchestra and an expensive studio, we need to get 3 songs done in 3 hours. No ifs, ands, or buts. 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. It's very unionized, very strict. The drummer, 7 o'clock comes around, the drummer's drums never showed up. So the 8 o'clock comes around, still no drums. I've got literally 35-piece orchestra sitting out there and the clock is ticking.
And you still have to get 3 songs
We
in.
still have to get 3 songs done and there's still no drums, so he calls Studio Instrument Rentals. We get a drum set over there pretty quick. So I think we ended up starting an hour and a half late for a 3-hour session.
Oh my gosh.
Sure enough, in 20 minutes, we were done with all 3 songs. So that's when you get a good staff at the studio and you have artists and musicians who know what they're doing and you have good charts, good arrangements, we finished 3 songs that are spectacular
Wow.
in 20 minutes.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and so just that was a triumph because man, was I sweating it before that. And that always happens on big sessions. Something always goes wrong, so you just have to take it
But you
in
had
stride.
everybody in the audience, in the orchestra, looking at you.
Yeah, and it can be stressful as opposed to being fun. But once it's grooving and you know you've got a good take,
How cool.
it can be really fun.
How cool. Okay, well, we're going to do 30 seconds of fun.
30
So
seconds of fun.
Yes.
Man, I haven't had 30 seconds of fun in at least 3 or 4 minutes.
So as many questions I can get in
Okay.
30 seconds. Okay, you ready?
Boxers.
Okay. Don't know about that one. Your favorite studio to record in?
Well, I mean, I like recording in my home studio, which is fun, but it has to be Capitol Studios because I've worked there so long and it's iconic.
Yeah, so much history.
I have been to Abbey Road Studios as well, but a little bit different of a scenario there, just because it's so far away. I like being here.
Favorite concert of all time?
Favorite concert of all time? Impossible to answer, but you know,
There's so
again,
many.
it goes back to probably McCartney or
Okay.
U2 or Sting or the Stones.
Well, thank you so much for coming today. Thank
That's
you
it?
for the that's it. I know. Time's up.
Thanks for having me.
So go to roborecords.net and check out the artists, download the music. It's really some phenomenal music there. And check us out at your10keys.com. Become a VIP member and find out a little bit more about all of that. Thank you so much. I'm Kate Hellmers with the Stepping Forward with Kate show. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Kate. It's been great.
Thanks.